and welcome to Rise with Crossroads Clubhouse and Monroe Community Mental Health Authority. I'm your host, Desi, and today we're with Barbara Krueger, who is our guest for today.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me today.
You're welcome. Barbara, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'd be happy to. So I started working at the Monroe County Library System almost 20 years ago. I started in youth services, which meant I did children's programs at that time, and I loved that. And about 8 or 9 years ago now, I had the opportunity to accept a position doing outreach for the Monroe County Library System, which means I have a bigger platform to tell people how great the library is. And one of those platforms is being here with you today.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
So, being with the library system for 20 years, did you have a love for reading?
I have always had a love for reading. I think that literacy skills are so important for people to have a successful life. And I think that if you can capture children when they're young and introduce them to the joy of reading, not just the techniques of reading, that you're going to have a lifelong reader.
That's good. Yes, we need children to learn how to read, and hopefully they love to read, and maybe just like you, they'll follow your footsteps into becoming a librarian maybe one day.
I think that'd be fantastic.
I know I always thought about being a librarian one day, but I don't know, maybe one day I could.
Maybe you could. We'd love to have you.
Thank you. And how many library branches are there in Monroe County?
So there are 16 physical branches of the Monroe County Library System. So no matter where you are in Monroe County, you are less than 10 miles from a library branch. In addition to our 16 physical branches, we have 2 mobile services that we offer. We have a bookmobile for children. That's one of the other things I do for the library is I manage the children's bookmobile. And then we also have an outreach vehicle for seniors. So if you have an elderly person in your life who is in a nursing home or an assisted care facility or needs homebound services, we have a way to provide services to them as well. So 16 physical branches, 2 mobile services, and then also you can reach the library at our virtual location, which is our website, mymcls.com, 24/7.
Okay. I know that you can access the catalog on your website.
That's right.
Which, what does that detail?
So to get the most out of the library website, all you need is a library card. And anyone who lives, works, or goes to school in Monroe County can have a library card. And it's free, just like our resources. So you can go on our website and you can look at our events calendar. You can find programs in your area or programs that are of interest to you at another location that you'd be willing to drive to if that's of interest to you. You can look at our catalog, so you can look at books and movies and music and art, which is something that people don't often think about. You can borrow framed artwork from the Monroe County Library System, put it up in your home or your office. We also have downloadable resources there that you can access easily. So if you'd like to read on your phone or your Kindle, we have audiobooks and ebooks and music and movies that you can download that way too.
Okay. I know some people can't go to the library, so like you said, there's mobile libraries such as for the elderly and the children.
Correct.
But someday would there be like an in-between maybe?
Maybe. I think the world's full of possibilities. And the library really tries very hard to assess the needs in our community and then adapt accordingly. So our bookmobile for children's only 4 years old. We started that in 2019. It had been decades since Monroe had mobile library services for children. So we launched that on National Bookmobile Day in 2019.
Okay. Then how old has the library system been in Monroe County, if you know anything about the history?
So we are coming up on our 90th birthday.
Okay. So it's been here for about 90 years?
That's correct.
And then do you know when the first library was?
So I'm not sure which was the first branch in the Monroe County Library system. I am pretty familiar with the Dorsch branch history, which is the branch right here downtown closest to the studios where we're taping today's program. I know that that used to be the home of Dr. Edward Dorsch, and part of the legacy he wanted to leave the city was when he and his wife passed, they donated that building to the city, and the only purpose it can ever serve is to be a library.
Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that actually, and I love history myself.
Great.
And I know this building where we're filming right now is very historic as itself too.
I did not know that.
Yes. With having a mobile book program, what is a mini library or what do you call it? Mini libraries.
Okay. So sometimes they're called little libraries. Are you talking about the freestanding libraries that are around town?
I believe so.
Okay. So in addition to services that the Monroe County Library System provides, citizens and other organizations can host a little library. Sometimes you'll find these in someone's front yard or in front of a business, and those, that model is called take, read, and return. So you can just, anyone can go up and borrow the books that are in the little library boxes, and if you have books in your house you'd like to donate, you could take them to a little library as well.
Okay. So I believe I have seen some like at parks. Though of course I'm not sure how faithful people are to return them.
So it's okay if you don't return them. Because they're free little libraries, they're not tracking circulation the way the library system does. So if you borrow something from the library, we do want you to return that to us.
Okay. Could you tell us more about the library card?
Sure. So I think I mentioned to get a library card, you just need to live, work, or go to school in Monroe County. It's a short application. It's half of a sheet of paper. You can fill that out at any of the 16 branches of the Monroe County Library System. And then you can start accessing the resources we have immediately. They'll make a card for you in the branch while you wait, or you can have a library card made on the bookmobile if you want. We offer two sizes. There's a credit card size and a keychain size, whatever's most convenient for people. And we'd love to have them use their library card and access our resources.
That's very good to have. I know I have one.
Great.
Of course, I haven't used it in a few years because due to COVID.
Okay.
And of course, I checked out a book myself, which I haven't returned because of COVID.
Okay.
Are there like any overdue fees or?
That's a really good question. If you have a book that is overdue, what we'd really like is to have the book back. And you can drop it at, each of our library branches have drop boxes. You don't even have to go into the branch if you don't want to. Some people prefer that, and that's certainly fine. So we don't offer, we don't charge overdue fines. In 2019, we became a fine-free library, but we do want our materials back. So we're not going to charge you an overdue fee, but if, and this is not your case, but if someone steals a book from the library, there is a replacement cost associated with that. But mostly we want to remove barriers and increase access for people. So we joined a nationwide trend of eliminating fines because a lot of people felt if they had an overdue fine, they felt ashamed or embarrassed and didn't want to come in and use the library anymore. And that's not what we're here for. We are here to enrich the quality of life for all residents of Monroe County. And we provide that. We do that by providing free access to informational, educational, and recreational resources. We want people to come in. We want people to access our materials online. We're here to serve you. We're here to serve the community.
That's a really good happening that you guys came up in 2019. Because I knew beforehand, it was just, I didn't always had the money to pay overdue fines, or if the book was damaged or just lost or something, I just didn't have the money to replace it.
So I will also say, if you or someone watching has a concern about that, returning the materials on time or in what condition the materials might be returned, our digital resources, so you just need your library card and you can have the book download right to your device instantly, and then when your time is up, when your borrow period is finished, it just automatically returns itself. So there's no effort at all involved on the patron's part for that.
Okay. With the library system, they have what I believe is a online catalog where you can request books if you can't find any in the library.
That's right. So maybe you are visiting one of our smaller library branches that would naturally have less books on the shelf. So you can use the card catalog to request that a book from anywhere in Monroe County be sent to the library branch that's most convenient for you. So if I worked here in this building, maybe I'd want my items sent to the Dorsch Library. So even though the book I want may be in Bedford, we have a method of delivery. So it takes just a couple of days and we'll have the book that you requested sent to that branch. So there are more than 575,000 items in our collection. So we probably have the book you're looking for, but that's not always the case. So if we don't have it in Monroe County, we're part of a co-op. It's called MEL. It's the Michigan Electronic Library, and we're part of the Woodlands Co-op. So if there's an item that you want that is in Tequamanon Falls in the Upper Peninsula, and you really want that book, they're a partner library, and we can have that delivered right here to the branch of your convenience as well.
That is really cool.
When I tell you that we are here to serve people and give people what it is they want, I really mean that.
That is really interesting, actually. I think I used that program before.
Okay, great.
Could you still say if the library system doesn't have that book and you really want that book to be in our library system, could you somehow ask the library to request to buy it?
Absolutely. So we want to be responsive to the needs of the community. And if there's something you want that we don't have or we can't borrow as part of these co-op situations, there's a form on our website. You can ask to have that title purchased. And there are some parameters the library uses. So if you wanted a vintage, first edition Tom Sawyer book, we may not be able to get you exactly that.
No.
So there are some cost parameters, there's availability parameters, but for the most part, we really want to give people what it is they want to have in the collection. A collection really ought to reflect the community. I think that good literature is a mirror and a window. So people, patrons, ought to be able to see themselves in a good book, like you see yourself in a mirror. And it also ought to be a window to a wider world, full of possibilities for people.
I know most of the time I'm into the Nancy Drew series.
Nice, you like a mystery?
I like the mystery, and I'm also into graphic novels.
Okay.
So I like to read those as well.
Wonderful.
And of course, I go back to young adult books.
Me too.
So I would read like maybe Harry Potter over again or some other books that pique my interest. And poetry as well.
Wonderful.
What happens if you lose your library card? Is there a fee to replace it?
So if you have lost your library card, but you still know your library number, you can continue to use it at a self-checkout station or digitally on your device. You can have your card replaced. I believe it's $1 to have your card replaced, just to cover the cost of the materials of the actual card itself. But in September, we always have an amnesty month. So September is library card sign-up month. And if you've lost your card, we'll replace it for you for free.
Okay. I know back when I was younger, I lost so many library cards.
That happens to a lot of children.
Of course, I never remembered my number, but I still have my library card till this day, and
Nice.
I even have it memorized.
Well, that's great. Then you can just give them that number when you've asked for that.
Yes. I know some branches have different programs for different ages.
That's correct. So the library offers programs from infants to senior citizens because, again, we're here to serve the needs of everyone in the county. One of my favorite baby programs happens at the Ellis Library and Reference Center. They have a program called Literacy on the Lawn, and it's designed for the tiniest of our patrons. You had mentioned Harry Potter. You like Harry Potter. We have some library branches that do, I think they're called fandom. So if you're particularly interested in a particular topic like Harry Potter, we have programs for that. And then we have knitting and crochet clubs that are particularly appealing to older people, though of course open to everybody.
Okay. I know a more popular and probably a bigger library like Bedford. To me, they have a lot of programs tweens and teens that I am interested in.
Okay.
Of course, I don't have transportation to go out there, and of course, I'm older. But I was wondering if there's any way we could request something like that here in Monroe.
Of course. So there are 16 branches of the Monroe County Library System, and every branch has a youth services technician assigned to them. So that person's job is to provide programming for people up to 18 years old, or programs that would be of interest to people in that age range. And so if there's something particular that you want, you can certainly mention that to some of your local staff. I think the ladies in that group are particularly responsive.
Okay. So if I go to, well, I know probably depending on the library.
Well, right. So there are staffing considerations, there are budget considerations, but I think that you'll find by and large library staff are incredibly accommodating people.
Yes.
People go into librarianship because they have a heart. Of course, they love books, but more than that, they love people. So when I think about what's the best thing about the Monroe County Library System, I think people expect my answer to be the books, and the books are certainly important. I love books. But people, I think, are our greatest resource. The staff that you'll find at each of your neighborhood library branches, they're really there to serve you. They want you to have a positive library experience, and they're going to do whatever it is they can to facilitate that for you.
Okay.
I work with the nicest 150 people you've ever met.
That's really good. At least you get to know your coworkers, and hopefully they'll help each other out.
Absolutely. The other thing I wanted to mention, speaking of programs, is it's almost time for our summer reading program. So that's going to kick off, it will begin on June 20th and then run through the summer. And that's happening at all 16 branches. So there'll be programs for young people, school-age people, teens, and even adult summer reading programs. Our theme this year is All Together Now, and I would really encourage everyone to take a look at that.
Okay. I remember when I was younger, I used to live in Ida.
Okay.
And I always, every summer, I did the reading program, and of course, there were prizes.
There are prizes.
And it's just a good memory that I had.
Great. We actually distributed the prize books at our youth services meeting this month, so they'll be in your branches and ready for the next round of patrons this year.
Okay. That'd be really good for the young children to get a book, and hopefully the up to adults will be able to get a prize as well as too.
Yeah. It's also a great opportunity for me to mention that we had a very generous sponsor. This is the third year in a row that Directions Credit Union has made a $3,000 contribution to the purchase of our prize books. So we really appreciate their support in those efforts as well.
That is very appreciative. Some libraries have different programs. Is there a library that does genealogy?
Yes, so some of our genealogy materials are available online for everyone to access from the comfort of their own home if they're interested. The Ellis Library and Reference Center, which is located by the fairgrounds, has an extensive genealogy collection, and reference librarians there and at the Bedford branch would be able to help people with their specific questions if you're looking to trace your family tree.
I try to do my family tree, and I have a hard time figuring out how far my family tree goes.
Okay. So I would say people might be surprised at the wide variety of questions that are asked at library branches, particularly at the reference desk at the library. So I would suggest calling over there, either to the Bedford or Ellis branch, and asking them to maybe help you get started. And like almost all of our resources are free. So that is certainly a service we provide for free. The things that are not free would be, like we have a nominal fee for printing. So if you want to make a photocopy or something at the library, or send a very large fax, or do 3D printing, there are nominal fees to cover that. But by and large, libraries are free and they're for everybody.
Yes, speaking of printing, I know you get a certain amount of time on your using a computer at the library?
Correct. In general, when you come in, all of our branches have computers available for public use. When you come in, you'll sign up and you'll get an hour. If you have come in and you have something very specific that you're doing, maybe you're taking a test that is timed and you need additional time, ask at the desk when you come in and they'll do their very best to accommodate you. Or renew your time as that hour comes to a close. So everyone has free access to the computers and the internet. And if you have something that you have done on the computer you'd like to print, your first 10 pages are free every day. After that, there is a nominal charge. But the Wi-Fi access is free. The computers are free. We really want to share information with people.
Okay. I remember always going to a computer just to look up my email or print off something that is important.
Well, and in the digital age that we're living in now, I think that's even more critical. And we found during COVID, as things were closing, people were doing, people who hadn't planned to be homeschooling found themselves homeschooling children. So the library really worked hard to adapt to that. People couldn't. There was a time when it was not safe for people to come into the library and use the computers. So at the onset of COVID, we expanded our digital reach. So if you came to the outside of the library, which was deemed safe to do at that time, we expanded our Wi-Fi signal so you could sit in your car and have access to those items, or sit on a bench outside of a library branch and use your phone if you needed to connect to the Wi-Fi. And we also started offering curbside service as the pandemic developed. The rules for safety changed, but there was a point when it was safe for people to pick up materials from the library but not be inside and gather in large numbers. So we started offering curbside service. So if you had requested the whole Harry Potter series and you showed up at the library, we would bring it out to you, and it was contact free. So to just increase everyone's safety and comfort level. And that's something, in addition to the expanded Wi-Fi services, that we've kept, even though the COVID situation seems to be in a different phase right now, because it's just a convenience for our patrons. So we're happy to provide that.
Are you still providing that service, even though it's different now with COVID?
Yep. So you can still get curbside service, contact-free curbside service if you're interested in that. And yes, the Wi-Fi signals remain, we have expanded capability of the Wi-Fi outside the buildings.
Okay.
If people do have questions, I would always suggest they go to the website, which again is mymcls.com. It stands for My Monroe County Library System. And I think that's a good place to start for any question that people might have. It will give you information on the branches, their location, their hours, their phone numbers, programming. You can look at the calendar of events. You can look at the card catalog. You can look at the downloadable and digital resources. And all that's available for everyone at mymcls.com.
Okay. Well, I believe that's today's show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
You're welcome, Barbara. So thank you for coming on to our show. I would like to thank Monroe Community Mental Health Authority for the support of our show. And I would like to thank MedPack Studio for providing us this platform. And hopefully be kind to yourself so we can be kind to others. Hi, Crossroads Clubhouse is doing a bottle and can drive for, pop bottle and can drive for the communications program. And we're at the Benish building right next to the Tim Hortons on South Monroe Street. Our address is 428 South Monroe Street, Suite 101. And we are collecting them to hopefully raise for items that we need to edit our videos. And we could collect them any time of the week. And if you can't deliver them, we could pick them up by calling us at 734-243-6401. So we hope to see you soon.